It started with one video, a shaky behind-the-scenes clip filmed inside a Chinese factory. A worker casually showed how a Louis Vuitton handbag was stitched, zipped, and packed. No filters, no fancy music, just raw footage of the real process. That one clip lit a wildfire. Within days, TikTok was flooded with similar videos from workers at factories producing items for Coach, Chanel, Prada, and more. They weren't leaking secrets. They were boldly showing the world how luxury is really made. And what they revealed has shaken the fashion world to its core. For decades, we've been told that luxury means heritage, exclusivity, and European craftsmanship. But what if the truth is far more manufactured and far less French than we ever imagined? What these viral videos exposed is nothing short of a luxury industry bombshell. The reality is, many of the world's most coveted designer handbags are not made in Italy or France. They're made in China, inside high-output factories that operate with stunning speed and precision. Workers from these facilities showed, step by step, how luxury bags, wallets, and belts are produced, and the footage spread like wildfire. No longer hidden behind NDAs or polished marketing, the truth was out there for everyone to see. And it wasn't just Louis Vuitton. Coach, Chanel, Prada, and others were all dragged into the spotlight. The footage revealed a supply chain that operates far from the romantic image of artisans in European workshops. Instead, it showed rows of workers stitching identical pieces, assembling bags in bulk, and preparing them for final shipment. While the labels may say "Made in Italy" or "Made in France," much of the labor behind them happens in Chinese factories that were never meant to be seen. And now the public is watching. Reports now suggest that over 80% of all luxury leather goods bags, belts, wallets are produced in China, regardless of what the label claims.
More than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China, but those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own countries and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France, those sophisticated European countries.
The trick is in how companies structure their production. Most of the item is built in Chinese factories, where the bulk of the work is completed. Then, the nearly finished product is shipped to Europe, where small final touches, sometimes just adding a label, stitching a seam, or packaging the product are done. That small step allows brands to legally mark the items as made in France or made in Italy. Consumers walk into boutiques believing they're buying something born from generations of European craftsmanship. But in reality, they're purchasing a product that was mostly made thousands of miles away. The illusion has always been carefully maintained through silence and marketing. But with factory workers now openly sharing the truth, the curtain has been pulled back. And many customers feel duped, fooled into paying a premium for origin stories that simply don't match reality. What makes this situation even more disruptive is that some of the very factories making these luxury bags are now cutting out the middleman. Instead of producing exclusively for designer labels, they've started selling directly to consumers.
Decades, we have been conditioned to believe that China is just one giant sweatshop pumping out crap while we are the sophisticated, high-end innovators. And it turns out China has just been patiently waiting for us to be completely dependent upon their manufacturers. They have been mastering every technology, absorbing every industry, and then building an empire that doesn't need us half as much as we need them.
The same stitching, the same materials, the same hardware, just without the high-end label or the astronomical price tag. What once cost $3,000 in a Louis Vuitton store can now be found online, straight from the factory for a fraction of the price. These aren't cheap knockoffs. They're the same bags made by the same hands in the same facilities. The only thing missing is the logo. For consumers who never cared about the brand name and just wanted a quality bag, this is a revolution. But for the luxury industry, it's a nightmare. The exclusivity they've banked on for decades is unraveling fast.
For my whole life, over 30 years, they have been in this. Before Alibaba was a thing, my parents were the middleman. American companies will come to them and say, hey, we want these things made in China, and my parents will go actually to China and source the goods and find the factories to make whatever product it might be. Products get shipped back to the US, they slap a label on it, they sell it at, major retail stores. I have known that luxury brands are made in the same factory as knockoff brands. When I was in college, I had a pair of UGG boots that just didn't have the UGG tag on it. because my parents went to the factory and they were sourcing for a shoe company. They said, hey, we're gonna send you this pair. It was literally $5. You love Uggs. It doesn't have the logo, but it's the same quality from the same factory. I have known this for basically my whole life, and the fact that this is just now coming out is hilarious to me. Just because it's made in China doesn't mean it's garbage. Just because it's made in Italy doesn't mean it's amazing, and most of the time it's not. So beware of what you're buying and don't just always buy.
According to insiders familiar with the operations, producing a Louis Vuitton handbag in China can cost as little as $15. Yes, $15. That same bag, once it goes through a brand's supply chain and lands in a boutique, might carry a price tag of $1,500, $3,000, or even higher. The sheer markup is staggering. And when people learn that the luxury they've been sold is mostly branding and not superior craftsmanship, frustration turns to anger. What's the real difference between the $15 version and the $3,000 one? A logo, maybe a fancier box. Perhaps 1 or 2 stitches added in Europe just to justify the label. But in terms of materials and build, they're virtually the same. This massive gap between production cost and retail price is no longer just a business strategy, it's becoming a symbol of deception. In what looked like a rushed attempt at damage control, Louis Vuitton released a video showcasing a small French workshop where workers were supposedly handcrafting their bags. But instead of restoring trust, the clip raised even more eyebrows. The video lacked authenticity, some workers appeared unfamiliar with the tools, and the atmosphere felt more staged than sincere. Viewers across social media called it out as a PR stunt, a last-ditch effort to hang on to the brand's image of heritage and handcraft. Instead of proving that their bags were made in France, the video only deepened the skepticism. People were no longer willing to take luxury brands at their word. They wanted proof, real proof, and this wasn't it. For years, Western consumers have viewed Chinese manufacturing as low-end, dismissing it as the land of knockoffs and assembly lines. But this scandal has flipped that perception on its head. China has quietly become the backbone of the world's production mastering technology, perfecting techniques and building a supply chain so efficient that even the biggest European brands depend on it. While we were sold images of cobblestone, streets, and old-world artisans, Chinese factories were producing the actual goods we were buying at scale, at speed, and with remarkable precision. The truth is, many of those so-called knockoffs are made with the exact same equipment and expertise as the originals. The only difference? Branding and marketing. Luxury's dirtiest secret isn't that it relies on China, it's that it never wanted anyone to know. As if the backlash wasn't enough, Louis Vuitton quietly raised its prices again, adding 3% to 6% across its product range overnight. No announcement, no warning. Shoppers walked into stores expecting one price, only to be shocked at checkout. In contrast, brands like Hermes at least gave customers a heads up before adjusting their prices. But Louis Vuitton? They just did it, and this isn't the first time. During the global lockdowns, while the world was dealing with uncertainty, LV raised prices, then too, blaming things like material shortages and supply chain delays. Consumers are beginning to feel like they're being played. When trust is already fragile, silent price hikes only make things worse rather than taking accountability or offering transparency. Louis Vuitton appears to be taking aim at the very people who helped expose the truth. The company has reportedly filed lawsuits against several of its Chinese manufacturing partners, accusing them of leaking confidential information, breaching contracts, and helping counterfeiters create perfect replicas. Some rumors suggest that these factories were producing official Louis Vuitton bags during the day, then using the same materials and machines to make duplicates after hours. It's a scandal within a scandal. Instead of addressing the core issue, how? Luxury brands rely on outsourced labor. LV is doubling down on secrecy. But consumers aren't so easily distracted anymore. The pressure is mounting at the highest levels. Bernard Arnault, LVMH's billionaire CEO and the richest man in the world for a time, is now rumored to be considering early retirement. He was expected to stay in his role until the age of 85, but insiders say he may step down much sooner. The reason? LVMH reportedly lost $9 billion in market value in just one day following the leaks and public backlash. Sales dropped. Stock prices dipped. investors got spooked. The empire he built, brick by luxury brick, is now facing a credibility crisis. And some believe Arnault is looking for the exit before the walls come crashing down. This whole situation is forcing consumers to ask, what are we really paying for? Is it the bag or the story behind it? For years, brands like Louis Vuitton have sold not just products, but fantasies. When someone buys an LV bag, they're not just buying leather and stitching, they're buying status, identity, and the illusion of exclusivity. But now that illusion is cracking, Chinese factories are offering the same bags, minus the logo. For pennies on the dollar, the glamour is fading. And if people stop buying for the clout, the entire luxury model could begin to collapse. Because if the story doesn't hold up, neither does the price tag.